I spent 4 months working on a platformer game, but ultimately I am going to abandon it. As for the why behind this decision, let's talk about it. So in early May, I decided I was sick of being in tutorial hell, and I really wanted to push towards getting my first game started and eventually released. And as many of us do, I decided to make a 2D platforming game. The allure of having several easy parts to make was too strong for me to resist. After all, a 2D platformer game is a game that anyone can make. And ultimately that's the problem. Everyone can make a platformer, and it seems that everyone is making a platformer. So how could my project or yours stand out? Well, we'd need a hook, either visually or mechanically. Artistically, I'm a novice at best, and as a guy with a mortgage, hiring an artist is not really in the cards. Visually speaking, I know that I would not be doing anything special, but mechanically, I did think I had something. I had a dash system in mind that would let the player reset their dash whenever they hit an enemy or certain object. An idea that has been done before, sure, but not in the exact way I had imagined it in my non-existent mind's eye. On paper, it made great sense, so off I went to code. Still learning as I went and using my limited free time, 2 months passed and I had pretty much all of the core components of my character figured out. Another month later and all the supporting elements for my levels were also mostly done. All of this sounds great, right? So what went wrong? Well, I made that first level, I grayboxed it, and I gave it a few play tests. And ultimately, it just wasn't fun. I had a character that felt really good to move around, but the core idea of dashing was janky at best. It was savable. I could mess with the hitboxes to make things feel more fluid. I could move away from enemies and more into a Celeste-style power gem system. But all of those saves I had in mind removed what I thought made the game unique. It removed that hook. So if I remove my hook, that would just leave me with a generic 2D platformer. And there's nothing wrong with that, but recognizing the sheer volume of work that still needed to be done, I decided to do some research for fun. Like I mentioned before, everyone can make a 2D platformer, and people with far better hooks than me are doing great things for this genre. At that point, I had to evaluate if it was just worth the time investment to push to fix and then release the game. I sat on this decision for a couple weeks and ultimately decided not to continue. For me, it just wasn't worth another year or more of development to go and do everything necessary just to get a game that wasn't going to pop or be something that I would be particularly proud of making. It's not like the platformer was my dream game anyway. If it was, passion probably would have gotten the best of me. But remember, this was just a chance for me to apply some skills and learn some new ones. And I honestly accomplished that goal. Letting go of a project can be a bit hard, but this wasn't a waste of time, it was far from it. So where do we go from here? The biggest takeaway I have from all of this is that I need to get the first level done sooner. The next project I will be tunnel visioning in on the mechanics present in the first level and only building those until I have something playable. This is going to require some major discipline because I am definitely the type to get sidetracked, but if I'm successful, this will let me gauge if the idea is fun. My next idea might be another dumpster fire, and that is ultimately fine. I just want to light the torch a little bit faster so that I can watch it burn sooner. There's no shame in failure. That's why I'm sharing this video. I'm fine to say that this isn't working, but you just can't give up. You gotta go again. As for where do we go from here, I have so many ideas. I've got a notepad on my phone just full of game ideas that I've come up with while I was working on the platformer. And I'm gonna reevaluate each of those to see which one is in the scope of a project that I'd like to take on next. I'm far from discouraged. This is all part of the life cycle. I'm just going to dive into the next thing, but before I can go into my next project, I think I'm going to do some learning about how Unreal Engine sets up multiplayer, and then learn some more about the engine before I dive back in. Ultimately, I'm just glad it was only 4 months. This would have been a way more depressing video if it would have been a couple years before I had come to this conclusion. But happy development, and I'll see you soon.